Shalom. I want to give all honors and glories and praises to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Makakodash, Yahweh, which is the one true name of the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Shai, who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his one true name is Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, meaning coming in a name, Ba means coming in, Ha means the, Shah means name, Rakah meaning spirit, Kodash meaning holy. Peace, blessings, salutations to the hopeful elect, and shalom to you sincere brothers that are scattered abroad, pushing forth this word in truth and sincerity. And shalom to you sincere sisters that are listening in silence as the scriptures command you to do so. I am the brother Mashiach Arazakah, and pretty much this lesson is going to be titled as Why Moses Couldn't Enter into the Promised Land. Okay, why couldn't Moses enter into the Promised Land? Now, the reason why Moses couldn't enter into the Promised Land is because the Lord gave him specific instructions on how to split the rock, and he didn't follow those instructions properly. What do I mean by that? The Lord commanded Moses to speak onto the rock before striking it, and he didn't do that. He just struck the rock twice in the water, and then the water came out, which he was supposed to speak onto the water. He's supposed to speak onto the rock for the water to come out, and he didn't do that. So due to him disobeying the Lord's instructions, the Lord banished him from entering into the Promised Land. So he wound up dying in Mount Nebo. Okay, we're going to prove that in this lesson. And we're going to give you the location where the rock was. Okay, the rock that Moses split in the ancient world is called Kadesh Barnea. Right? That's where it's located at, which the area is called Meribah, 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 which is in Saudi Arabia today. That's where the location was. And when he split that rock, and he didn't do that, follow those exact instructions on how the Lord wanted him to split it, that's what caused him not to be able to enter the Promised Land. And we're going to prove that in this lesson. All right, Lord willing, this lesson's edifying because some people believe that Moses, due to him killing an Egyptian, as the scriptures mention in Exodus, is the reason why he didn't get to enter the Promised Land, which that's not the reason. The reason why Moses didn't enter into the Promised Land is because he didn't speak onto the rock before striking it. That's what caused him not to enter the Promised Land. It had nothing to do with him killing a Hamite. And I want to prove that in this lesson. So, this is Numbers 20 and verse 8. Now, this is when the Israelites was in the wilderness of Zin, which is in, if I'm saying it right, Kadesh, Barnea, okay, which is near the Red Sea, the Dead Sea, Salakia, okay. So let's get it. It says Numbers 20 and 8. It says, this is what the Lord said unto Moses. Look, it says, take the rod and gather thou the assembly together, thou and Aaron thy brother, and speak ye unto the rock before their eyes. He didn't do that. He just went and split the rock twice. It says, and it shall give forth his water, right? And thou shalt bring forth to them water out of the rock. So the Lord told him to speak onto the rock. He didn't do that. He just went and struck the rock twice. Because the Lord gave him specific instructions and he didn't follow them. It says, so thou shalt give the congregation their beasts to drink. Right? Verse 9. And Moses took the rod, right, from before the Lord, and as he commanded him, right? And Moses and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock, and he said unto them, hear now, ye rebels, must fetch you water out of the rock. Verse 11, and Moses lifted his hand. Remember, he was supposed to speak onto the rock. He didn't do that. And Moses lifted up his hand, and with his rod, he smote the rock twice. He was supposed to speak onto the rock first, then do it. He didn't do that. It says, and the water came out abundantly, and the congregation drank as their beasts also. Verse 12, and the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, right? Because ye believe me not to sanctify me in the eyes of the children of Israel. See? Therefore ye shall not bring this congregation into the land which I have given them. But this referring to Moses. Moses couldn't enter the Promised Land because he didn't follow the exact instructions. Okay, let's prove it. Deuteronomy 32 and 47. For it is not a vain thing for you, because it is your life. It says, and through this thing ye shall prolong your days in the land, whether ye go over Jordan to possess it. Verse 48. And the Lord spake unto Moses that self same day, saying, remember, check this out. Verse 49. Get thee up into this mountain of Abarim onto Mount Nebo. So the Lord told him to go to Mount Nebo, right? It says, which is in the land of Moab, that is over against Jericho. And behold, the land of Canaan, which I give unto the children of Israel for a possession. But look, listen what the Lord say unto Moses. Verse 50. And die in the mount whither thou goest up. So the Lord told him to go to Mount Nebo. He couldn't go into the promised land, right? And be gathered unto thy people, as Aaron thy brother died in Mount Hor, which Aaron did. He died in Mount Hor, right? And was gathered unto his people. Verse 51. This is why. This is why Moses didn't get to enter into the promised land, right? Verse 51. Because ye transgressed against me among the children of Israel at the waters of Meribah Kadesh, right? It says, in the wilderness of Zin, because ye sanctify me not in the midst of the children of Israel. So that's why he didn't get to enter the promised land. Okay, let's read it. Why couldn't Moses enter the promised land? It says Moses couldn't enter the promised land because he disobeyed God's command by striking a rock instead of speaking to it to produce water for the Israelites. That's why he didn't enter the promised land. It had nothing to do with him killing Hamites, because he killed that Hamite. That got nothing to do with why he didn't enter the promised land. He didn't get to enter the promised land because he didn't speak onto the rock before striking it. That's why he didn't get to enter the promised land. All right. And now the rock that Moses split, that's in Saudi Arabia today. Okay. Which the area was called the wilderness of Zin of Kadesh, right? Barnea. You see that right there? That's where Moses was at. Right. And you see Mount Hor right there. That's where Aaron died at. But as you see right here, the wilderness of Zin of Kadesh Barnea, right? That's where Moses split the rock at, which that's located near Saudi Arabia today, right? And we can prove that, which is Meribah, right? It says Meribah is the name given to two locations in the Bible, both associated with Israelites' lack of faith and their quarreling with the Most High over water in the desert. One is near Rephidim, right, where the Israelites camped after crossing the Red Sea. It says the other is near Kadesh Barnea in the southern Negev desert, also known as Meribah Kadesh. Let's read down, right? Because I want to get it. Let me see. Let me get down to prove that it's in Saudi Arabia. Right, read right here. Okay, this is where we're going to start at right here. It says while the precise genealogical location, both sites are debated. They are generally thought to be within the vicinity of modern-day Saudi Arabia and Israel. That's where the area was located, Saudi Arabia. The name Meribah itself, meaning quarreling, reflect the Israelites' recurring issue of mistrust and conflict with the Most High over their needs. So there you go. That's why Moses didn't get to enter the promised land. It had nothing to do with him killing the Hamite. He didn't follow the exact proper instructions on what the Lord required him for it to do. The Lord told him to speak onto the rock, then strike the rock for the water to come out. He didn't do that. He just spoke. He spoke onto the people, but he didn't speak onto the rock. And he just struck it twice, and then water came out. So due to him doing that, the Lord banished him from entering into the promised land. And Moses died at Mount Nebo. That's where he died at. The Lord told him where to go. Right here. Right? Let's go back. He told him right here. Oh, not this one. It's like Deuteronomy 32, right? The Lord told him what? This is what the Lord told Moses where to go. So once he got the people, the Israelites, to where they were to go to, or the promised land, he couldn't enter though. It says, go thee up into this mountain, Abarim, onto Mount Nebo. That's where the Lord told Moses to go. For himself where to go. It says, which is in the land of Moab, right? It says, unto Mount Nebo, which is in the land of Moab, that is over against Jericho. And behold, the land of Canaan, right? It says, which I give unto the children of Israel for a possession. He couldn't go there, though. The Israelites went there, but Moses himself couldn't go there. The Lord told him to go to Mount Nebo, right? It says, and die in the mount, whether thou goest up, and be gathered unto thy people, as Aaron thy brother died in Mount Hor, which we showed you where Mount Hor is. That's where Aaron died and was gathered unto his people, right? Verse 51, because ye trespass against me among the children of Israel at the waters of Meribah Kadesh, which I showed you on the map, which that's located near Saudi Arabia, right? It says in the wilderness of Zin, right? I showed you on the map. Because ye sanctify me not with the midst of children of, with, it's like a, in the midst of the children of Israel. So due to him not speaking onto the rock before striking it, that's what caused him not to enter, not to be able to enter into the promised land. That's what got him banished from entering into the promised land. It was not him striking, killing a Hamite. That had nothing to do with it. So, hey, I had to do a lesson on this because some people have some worries or attributes of why Moses particularly didn't get to enter the promised land. I heard stories, some people say that, well, he killed that Egyptian. That's what caused him not to enter the promised land. No, he didn't get to enter the promised land because he didn't speak onto the rock before striking it. That's what caused him to not be able to enter the promised land. So, hey, Lord willing, this lesson's edifying. I want to give all honors and glories and praises to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushai, Bahashem Kodash. And Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Just a quick hit, for you new brothers that's new in the truth, or you want to know why Moses wasn't able to enter the promised land. It had nothing to do with him killing that Egyptian. He couldn't enter because he split the rock before speaking to it. The Lord commanded him to speak onto the rock before striking it, and that's what he did. So, hey, Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. On to the next one. Shalom.